Hi everyone, so I'm going to explain timelines and multidimensionality. So this can appear on some levels to be quite complex, but I'm going to make it as simple as possible to comprehend. So first of all, we need to comprehend what do I mean by multidimensionality. So look at it this way. Imagine that you are a diamond. So a diamond has many facets. So imagine the very essence of who you are is this multifaceted diamond. So the multifaceted diamond contains all the soul wisdom, your oversoul, your higher self, from all of your incarnations that you've taken since leaving source. So you might have been a star being on another planet, for example. You might have taken incarnations as different beings, trees, dragons, fairies. So all of that soul knowledge is contained in your diamond, your multifaceted diamond. And when we take an incarnation into, for example, this world, we take one facet of that diamond. So we don't take the entirety of your soul knowledge into this one incarnation because it simply wouldn't fit. The dimensional space of planet Earth would not be able to assimilate all those different soul knowledges from across the cosmos. So we incarnate with one facet of this soul wisdom. So I'm going to use this analogy as me, Gillian England, just to make it personable and to make it easier to comprehend. So let's have a look at this then. Gillian England is an aspect of a larger oversoul. The majority of my oversoul, my higher self, my soul wisdom is held in my Merkaba or higher self or whatever you like to call it. There's lots of different names for it, but I'm just going to say this diamond Merkaba of mine is held in another dimension, and I've just incarnated as Gillian England as one facet of that diamond. So this is where getting in touch with our higher self, it starts to make sense. So I'm a very great advocate of returning to that inner peace. You know, in my book Spiritual Development in 5D, you can find that on Amazon or gillianengland.com, I talk about the importance of getting in touch with one's higher self, because think about it, Gillian England has just incarnated as this one aspect of my entire self. Now, I haven't got all that soul wisdom here with me as Gillian England, but I know if I access my higher self, then I will be able to access that soul knowledge, that soul wisdom. So that's why I'm a great advocate of us regularly getting in touch with that quiet place and that higher self. So that explains what we mean by multidimensional self and our higher self. Now let's take that a little bit further. So with regard to the higher self and with regard to multidimensionality, currently Gillian England is here on planet Earth. So I'm just expressing that one element of myself as Gillian England. Now, what if I was aware of multiple facets of that oversoul incarnated in other dimensions? So let's say that I've got an aspect of my soul as a dragon, or let's say I've got an aspect of my soul as another being on another planet, or even another aspect of myself incarnated on Earth. Now, as we step into our comprehension of our multidimensional selves, we are going to be aware of all these different aspects of self. Now, if we're not comprehending this multidimensionality, this could seem very overwhelming and we could feel like we're losing our mind. So, you know, all these different aspects of Gillian England, I'm having an awareness that this is going on all at the same time. But if I've got the soul wisdom to think, okay, there's an aspect of me playing out on this realm, aspect of me playing out on the other realm. When I have an awareness of it, it's less disconcerting. I can just come back to my higher self, come back to that diamond self, come back to the one essence of myself, and integrate all those aspects of self into one. So, another aspect of all of this is timelines. Where do timelines fit into this? So, I've never really been one for watching a lot of movies. I'm not saying that movies aren't good and entertaining, and a lot of people say, but Gillian, they show us what's going on in the world. Yes, I don't doubt that, and I'm sure that a lot of people get a lot of comfort and entertainment from movies, but it's just never been one of my things. But one thing I remember reading as a child is books where you had a book, you had a main story, and then you chose which of the outcomes you wanted. So let's say there was a story with 4 different endings. As the reader, you chose the 4 different endings. Now, I see that as different timelines. You know, we've all got a main story and a main narrative, but we get to choose which story we want to, which ending we want. So you could look at that as timelines. So there's all these potentials and all these timelines, and you pick one ending to the story, and that's your story. But what happens then if in this 3D matrix stimulated reality that all those 4 timelines in that book were all running simultaneously? So instead of having one timeline, there's 4 timelines, for example, of the same story, but you are only in consciousness of one timeline at any given time. Is this making sense? I told you it was complicated, but hopefully you're with me. You can go back and rewatch the video if it's all getting a bit complicated. So with this timeline then, what happens if this Gillian England self had got lots of simultaneous timelines running at one point? Now, we know that nefarious sources have tried to slow us down and put us on inorganic timelines, which are not necessarily for our highest and best self. So timelines where they can harvest loosh, for example, you know, miserable timelines, difficult timelines, where their loosh harvesting situations are it's easy to manifest their loosh because we're miserable on those timelines. Now, you might hear people talking about the timelines are collapsing and we are moving into the one single timeline. Now, my comprehension is that let's for example say this book where there's 4 different outcomes and you can choose your outcome. Let's say all of those timelines are collapsing into one timeline, which is the highest timeline, which is the organic timeline as was intended by Creator. This is what my comprehension is of when they are saying the timelines are collapsing and we are moving in to our highest timeline. So all those lower timelines, all those miserable timelines, all those difficult timelines that were never really meant to be, they were forced upon us by nefarious sources, you know, difficulties, miserable times, all of that's all collapsing. So we are being left with this one singular highest timeline. Now, within this singular timeline, as the light on the planet increases and our collective consciousness increases, this is where I'm thinking that many of us that have done the work, that have anchored in the light into our own selves, into the planet, into, more importantly, from our higher selves, we've anchored this light into the planet. I think our multi-dimensional selves are going to be more apparent. And in fact, I've spoken to somebody in our community where this is already happening. So just watch for it. I've got a mental health background, so I was clinical lead in Derby City Primary Care Mental Health Services. So I comprehend the idea of psychosis and hearing voices, So I'm looking at this from two sides. I'm looking at it from a mental health aspect and also a multi-dimensionality aspect. And I think that, you know, sometimes when people get labelled with mental health, schizophrenia, they maybe are in touch with other dimensions. Sometimes this can be due to, for example, opening the aura through taking drugs or a lot of alcohol or through trauma. That happens. But I'm talking about something different here in terms of multidimensional self. But the reason I'm bringing this video out is because I feel like it's time for people to step into that. So if you are doing the work, if you are at that frequency, then you might find your multidimensionality opening up to you. So that's why I felt it was important to bring this video. So just watch for it, folks. You know, I think there is a culmination of the timelines merging into one. And I think that there is potential for people to be in touch with their multidimensional selves in a conscious way. So not just, oh, I've had a dream and I was battling demons, or I know you actually aware of it. It's in your here and now present. So this is where the anchoring in yourself into the planet, your energies into the planet, where the grounding techniques really come about. So yeah, like I said, I hope this makes sense. I know it's quite complicated on some levels, but on another level where I'm looking at it, it actually isn't very complicated at all. But it's just getting our head around these different concepts of looking at life and our reality. Because there's one thing for sure, I think 2025 is going to bring a big shift in the collective reality. So I'm just giving everyone the heads up here and sending you all lots of love. You can find me gillianengland.com. You can find me on Telegram, TikTok, YouTube. You can find me all over the place. There's plenty of videos out there. If you want to learn more, just have a look for me. Gillianengland.com is where you'll get all the links to my social medias. Sending you lots of love, everyone. Have a great day.